there are a number of things that I would like us to do, students. If you have been part of these presentations, you would know that we're working with academic writing. We're working with the practicalities that prepare us for effective writing of assignments, so that our assignments are fit for purpose, our assignments can be submitted and obtain a good mark. So that's what we are doing at the moment. We touched a number of things previously. We looked into the nuts and bolts of writing expository essay and writing argumentative essay. So we compared the two forms of writing and we identified the differences. We then looked into how to put together an introduction of an argumentative essay and an introduction of an expository essay. We looked into those. And the key in those presentations, students, if you were part of the workshops previously, you would remember that we said there must be a guideline that informs the introduction. There must be a structure that forms the basis of an introduction. An introduction cannot just be written out of nowhere. By out of nowhere, I mean, I think that the first paragraph must be an introduction. Therefore, I am writing the first paragraph as an introduction, but I'm not following the required features which should be evident in an introduction. So we looked at a number of things which you cannot afford to leave out when you write an introduction, students. We said that be it expository or argumentative essay introduction, the first sentence of your introduction should be basically your thesis statement. This phrase, thesis statement, or term thesis statement, is not new to you, I believe. You have come across it before and you have experimented with it before, perhaps even tried to craft one yourself for your essays. I don't know, but it is important that you know what a thesis statement is. We said in the presentations that it is a statement that consists of the topic, or rather the essay topic, and how you intend to address that topic. Put simply, it is consisting of the topic and the controlling idea or the writer's position on that topic. So that would be the first sentence that you begin your introduction with. You cannot write an introduction without a thesis statement. Any form of essay, or type rather of essay you're writing, it should have that thesis statement evident in it. Otherwise, it is not a thesis statement. If it doesn't have or make reference to the topic itself and how you intend to address that topic in the essay, or the controlling idea or your position on that topic, and you do that in the same sentence. So we did that. I'm having before you a slide that says or title format of an academic expository essay. Don't mind that. We'll move to the other slide. We dealt with that, how to write an expository essay introduction. And we looked at the introduction as consisting of just that one aspect that I've already started with, the thesis statement. Don't allow your introduction to be an introduction without a thesis. It's incomplete. So when we were dealing with the structure, we said the structure of an introduction is a microstructure. It must have evidence of a thesis statement. We also said it must have evidence of how you intend. In other words, summary of ideas that you intend developing in the body of the essay. a summary of ideas that you intend developing further in the body of your essay. These two are very key elements of an introduction. You cannot have an introduction without those. Remember, the summary of ideas informs the reader on the ideas which will be developed further by the student in the body of the essay. The summary of ideas help the reader predict the form your essay will take, because those ideas are there. I do not want to read an essay and I do not know what to expect in the essay itself. You see, the introduction must introduce me to the essay. So this is what we spoke about, students. Maybe I should touch on this. This is what we, maybe I'm just saying this and there's a gap between what I'm saying and what perhaps you know already concerning this. All right, this is what I'm saying. I'm just going back because I see that maybe some students may feel like I don't know what this presenter is talking about here. Look, we said this, we said the thesis statement, see? There you go, thesis statement, writing an introduction. You must. Is it a comparing and contrasting essay? It must have a thesis statement. Is it an expository essay where you're discussing a topic? It must have a thesis statement. Is it an argumentative essay you're writing? It must have a thesis statement. You cannot avoid that. It must, because it gives us an idea what the topic is and how you intend addressing that topic. We spoke about that before in the past. Don't forget that. It's very important. And most importantly, the students need to know how to write a thesis statement. You need to know how to do it. And we are going to do it this evening. And we are going to do it. We're going to write an introduction. I'll give you a topic. You write your own introduction and we interrogate your introduction. You write the body paragraphs, maybe 1, 2, and we interrogate the body paragraphs. Remember last time when we met, I said, okay, here is a body paragraph. What do you think? Is this paragraph suitable for an argumentative essay or an expository essay? Students would say, I think argumentative essay. Others would say, I think expository essay. And so we went and we argued around those and we found each other ultimately, and we said, no, it should be expository based on the following reasons. So we were able to do that. But this is what you put into your introduction. Any essay type that you are writing, it mustn't be without an introduction that consists of a thesis statement that begins with a thesis statement. And you continue on to write, of course, some students would write definitions. There are keywords that they feel they need to define. They are allowed to define those in the introduction. Others, they would go on to give background information on the topic in the introduction. You're allowed to do that, but it's not compulsory. What is very, very key is the thesis statement and the last bullet. Last bullet. A good introduction gives the reader information that summarizes the body of your essay and gives the reader a way to predict the structure of the essay itself. We spoke about developing a thesis statement for an expository essay. This is an example of a thesis statement. Reading develops a child's mind. This is the topic. And of course, this is the writer's position on the topic by fostering or the controlling idea that would perhaps form the line of argument right through the essay by fostering comprehension skills, increasing vocabulary, and exposing them to new worlds they might not otherwise encounter. Now, you see, this is just giving you the stuff. I want to get feedback. Whether you are able to do it yourself, can you put together or construct an effective thesis statement on a given topic? And we're going to try and test that because I've done this before with you. Now, this was an introduction, sampled introduction. This was written by a student, took it and analyzed it, and we tried to look into whether the student was able to include a thesis statement. When we found that indeed there was a thesis statement in that in the introduction, because there is evidence of, or the first sentence of the introduction make reference to the topic, and it also has the controlling idea or the writer's position on the topic. And of course, the student did not provide background information in the introduction, neither did the student provide a definition in their introduction. However, the student does provide summary of ideas that give me opportunity to predict what the structure of the essay as a whole is. So the student has done that successfully. This is student A draft introduction. These are introductions written by students. You are going to write your own introduction as well. If there is going to be a time where we apply, this is the time we apply what we have, the theory that we have been acquiring or working with in our previous classes or presentations. So you have another student's introduction. This one was revised. And of course, you can actually use the key points that should form part of an introduction to analyze if the introduction is good, or is average, or is below average. And of course, this is another example that students would write, student B introduction, etc. I don't want to go into this and any further. Because we have done this. Argumentative essay writing, we spoke about that as well. Again, you would realize that when you write an argumentative essay introduction, again, you need to remember there must be what? A thesis statement. There must be a summary of ideas that enables the reader to predict what the essay is about. This summary of ideas are the key points that the student will develop further in the body of the essay. This introduction here was written by a student on the topic, in modern society, there is pronounced focus on body and what it takes to achieve so-called beauty by means of diet, exercise, and plastic surgery. In your opinion, does society go too far in its obsession with weight and physical beauty? Write an argumentative essay which demonstrates your stance. Right. Do you have an essay topic that you want us to work work with? And that topic you have, I would like that we, by the way, if it's an assignment topic, you don't want to take everything we're going to say about the topic. If it's an assignment topic, I'd like us to analyze that topic. So you are going to, meanwhile I'm doing this presentation, you type in the chat box your topics from whichever module that you have enrolled for this semester. Write down that topic, and we are going to work with it. We are going to use that topic. First, we'll do the first things first. Remember, the pre-writing, we said is a process. We have the pre-writing phase of the writing process, and the actual writing or drafting phase, and the post writing phase, where you do the editing and other things that needs to be done to ensure that you remove all the errors, all other things that need not to be there. You remove all of that. You make sure that your writing is neatly polished and ready for submission. So writing is a process. So we looked into the pre-write. I'm jumping from one thing to the other, but it's because I know that you should relate to what I'm saying, because we've done this thoroughly in our previous classes. So when I'm saying pre-writing phase, I'm looking at what you do before you draft the essay. You analyze, you choose the topic, you analyze the topic, you generate ideas, or you you gather ideas. And once you have done that, you organize those ideas, you arrange them in the sequence or order that you want them to be presented in the essay itself. That is a very important step in the writing process. Topic analysis is very, very important that you do that. And once you've done that, you can then say, okay, let me now generate ideas on the topic that I understand very well, and let me organize those ideas and arrange them in the manner or in the form that I want them to be presented in the essay itself. Right, moving into the draft phase where you have now an introduction. Here is what you have to think about when you look back into your introduction to say, does it have the thesis statement? It should. Does it have definition? If you want to have definition of keywords, you are allowed to do that. If you want to provide background information, you are allowed to do that, but be careful that you need to be sticking to the word limit that you are given by the examiner. Also make sure that you have the summary of ideas. I keep on saying that the summary of ideas that you need to give to guide the reader into what to expect in the body of your essay. Right. What about the body paragraphs? Paragraphs in the body of your essay. We said that the microstructure of body paragraph consists of the topic sentence. I explained what the topic sentence is. A sentence that contains the main idea of the paragraph. I said that before. And I said also that the topic sentence in the paragraph is to be developed. Remember, in academic writing, the paragraphs are well developed, right? The paragraphs they must be well developed. And once they are well developed, we know that these paragraphs are a suitable paragraph. These are not this is not creative writing, it's academic writing, because paragraphs are well developed. They begin with the topic sentence or the sentence that carries the main idea of that paragraph, and that topic sentence is further developed by the student using examples, using evidence, using evidence from the sources. Remember, when you were generating and gathering ideas, that's the evidence you're going to be using to develop the ideas in the body paragraphs. And of course, you end that paragraph with with a link sentence. So the paragraphs must be appealing. We spoke about that before. We discussed this as well. If you remember this slide, we discussed that. I don't want to dwell much on it. What we're going to do this evening is to write the essays themselves. Right, let's look at, remember when we spoke of an argumentative essay, we said at times students are encouraged to do what? To strengthen their argument by including counter arguments. And this is a slide that helps you to construct a very good counter argument, how to insert a counter argument in your essay, especially when you're writing an argumentative essay. It strengthens your argument when you include counter arguments in your essay. We spoke about this before. All right, so I'm hoping that we'll put together a counter argument at some stage during this presentation. Right, the other things that we needed to avoid are writings that uses generalizations that everyone knows, or it is common knowledge that's been children in suburbs are spoiled brats. That's a generalized statement. It's better to say that parents in suburbs tend to overindulge their children. Avoid exaggerated claims as well. So just avoid statements such as, if corporal punishment is reinstated, physical abuse will soar in school across the country. Rather say, if corporal punishment is reinstated, physical abuse may, so that it doesn't become exaggerated. If you say will soar, you are exaggerating because you're not sure if this would really, there's a high degree of certainty in will. But when you say may, academic writing would use often this verb, may increase in this modal verb, may increase in schools across the country, instead of will or shall. Avoid those in academic writing unless there is a need. But when you make claims and you say will, you are expressing a high degree of certainty. It's as if you are sure it's going to happen. may is perhaps better way of expressing that same thought without committing yourself to being a person sure that this will definitely happen. Right. So the following body paragraphs suitable for expository or argumentative essay. We did that. We analyzed each of these paragraphs. We spoke about them. I don't need to go back there. These are body paragraphs written by students. We perhaps looked at those conclusions where you sum up your main points. We spoke about that. State your point of view. We spoke about that. These are examples of conclusions that we worked with last time. A conclusion for an argumentative essay. We gave an example of a concluding paragraph of an argumentative essay. We did that. And now what is left? Okay, these are conclusions by students. Looked at that as well. Okay. Now, you have an assignment and there's a due date there and it's compulsory. So I want us to work with it. And the topic, of course, so that we apply all things that were presented before. The microstructure of an introduction, microstructure of body paragraphs, microstructure of the concluding paragraph. I want us to do that. Right. Remember, it's not over yet. We must at least come out of these workshops fluently able to write essays that can stand the test of time, essays that can be submitted and earn us good marks. But to do so, we must ensure that our essays are academically sound. You know, these are essay topics that students have chosen. This is another topic that a student has chosen, but this is where you're writing a comparing, contrasting essay. This is where you write expository essay. I spoke about that, the introduction and concluding paragraph. Right. We have the linking words. I don't want to at this stage to talk about the link or logical connectors at this stage, but they are very, very important. Or the signposts, they're very, very important. Referencing styles. Now, when we get into this is where now you are already able to put together a solid paragraph which is coherent and cohesive. So if you're able to do that, then we can move to the next important feature of academic writing, which is referencing or evidence. How do you integrate evidence? How do you do in-text referencing? You don't want to confuse these things by doing all of them at once. Let us start by writing the paragraphs and seeing that we are able to do that. And the paragraphs must be structured, and the ideas must be, of course, logically arranged. That's the starting point. We have a topic that we have chosen. We've analyzed the topic. Having analyzed, we have generated gathered ideas. Having done that, we've organized those ideas. Now, those ideas are now located somewhere in the paragraphs. Have we arranged the paragraphs well or not? What guided you in organizing those ideas within the paragraphs, in structuring those paragraphs? What helped you? Hope you applied some of the knowledge that you've gained from the previous presentations. But having done that, having developed full confidence in organization of ideas in paragraph or arrangement of ideas in a paragraph, or having done that, then the next thing that is also important feature of academic writing is referencing. We must then say, how do we reference? Now we are sure how to put together a paragraph. We have no doubt about that, and we can do it very well. Middle of the night, you wake us up, we'll do it without hesitation. But then we can, once we can we now move further and say, let's do in-text referencing. Let's do one of these styles. It's Harvard or APA referencing style that we are using, and we are now referencing ideas that we have used in our paragraphs so that we are not accused of plagiarism. All right. So, but can you do this before you write the paragraphs? You can't. You must write those paragraphs and they must be sound. Right? So we'll then focus on the referencing styles. And once we have done that, in-text referencing, of course, direct quotation, summarizing, and attribution. We'll do all of that, but we must start with what? We must start with, of course, we must start with, of course, the paragraphs themselves. Now, if you do not have a topic, I am more than pleased to suggest the topics to you, and then you write the paragraphs based on this. It'll be nice to have topics that are there already in your essay, in your assignment. Not that we will give you answers. We will not. Right, students, now it is the time to get into your writing skills to find out if you can do it and do it very well. We cannot move into in-text referencing or learning about the different referencing styles, Harvard, APA, you name them. We don't go there yet until we have mastered writing a paragraph, a simple paragraph, writing an introduction, a simple introduction, writing a body paragraph, a simple body conclusion. We cannot move into other complexities of academic writing without first addressing these tiny little details that need to be taken care of. Right. So I'm giving you the topics, and the topics are there on the slide. And so I want you to really choose any of these two and write an introduction. Writing an introduction. Try to express the main topic of your entire essay right at the beginning, which is write the thesis statement. Begin your introduction with the thesis statement. And the thesis statement is defined. Attract your reader's interest. Give necessary background information or definition. I said this is not compulsory. You can include it if you want to. Avoid examples and details in the introduction. Good introduction gives the reader information that summarizes the body of your essay and gives the reader a way to predict the structure of the essay. Now, choose any of the two topics, then write the introduction. Please type your introduction in the chat box, or you can email your introduction to me and I will open the email and I will share the introduction with the rest. I will share it on the, don't write your name. You don't need to write your name. I'll just share the introduction with the rest of the students, and we will then do what? We will then look or put the introduction under the microscopic look to try and zoom into different features of your introduction, analyzing in accordance with the points that are given on this slide on writing an introduction. And also remember that there are things that you cannot leave out in the introduction as you write. Make sure those things are evident in the introduction. So let's work with Mavia's introduction. Everyday trends may change people's opinions and how they define beauty, judging by body shapes and facial features. I assume, Mabie, that you have chosen the topic, the discussion topic or discursive essay writing topic that asks students to write on the, let's just go to the topics. Right, here is your slide, your topic slide, where we have two topics, one argumentative essay writing topic, the other discursive essay writing. In modern society, there is a pronounced focus on the body and what it takes to achieve so-called beauty by means of diet, exercise, and plastic surgery. In your opinion, does society go too far in its obsession with weight and physical beauty. Write an argumentative essay which demonstrates your stance. I think Mabi has chosen the argumentative essay topic. I had said discussion topic is an argumentative. In your view, does society go too far in its obsession with weight and physical beauty? Write an argumentative essay. So, going to Mabia's introduction, let us see if it satisfies the introduction requirements. And I expect Mabia to really be the one who would do well because we're working with his introduction. Does the introduction begin with the topic sentence? In other words, excuse me, not topic sentence, the controlling idea as well as the topic, and that we said is the thesis statement. And he writes, okay, or she writes, everyday trends may change people's opinions and how they define beauty, judging by body shapes and facial features. Remember, we said the topic is modern society. There's focus on body and beauty by means of diet, exercise, and plastic surgery. In your view or opinion, does society go too far in its obsession with weight and physical beauty? Now you're writing argumentative essay, but there you have the topic. You seem to be saying, maybe in your introduction, and thank you for sharing. It's not easy to get students to share what they have. When we look at yours, does it give us a picture of what to expect in the body of the essay, or does it lead the reader into that conclusion to say, I know what to expect in the body of the essay? Right, that is number two. But number one is, does it begin with the thesis statement where we know where the writers stand with regard to the topic? In other words, what the writer's position is regarding the topic. Mabie says, everyday trends may change people's opinions and how they define beauty, judging by body shapes and facial features. Does it leave you with a very good impression regarding perhaps the topic chosen? Does it relate to the topic chosen? Everyday trends may change people's opinions and how they define beauty. Well, Mabe, it's a pity we work with your introduction, but we do not have in it, and I know you're going to do it right and well. Why? Because you exposed yourself, you came out, and then you wanted us to engage. But then there you say, everyday trends may change people's opinions and how they define beauty, judging by body shapes and facial features. Remember, you are writing an argumentative essay, and in an argumentative essay, we would like to state our position on the topic, whether we think there is obsession with beauty in modern society, or whether we think there is no obsession with beauty at all. Now, when I read the introduction of Mabi, and it's an introduction of, rather, to an argumentative essay. In this introduction, Mabi, I do not see, or I cannot find the thesis statement, which is very, very important for me to know where you stand on the topic. What position are you taking as the writer? Do you want to support what they say in the what is being asked in the topic, or do you want to agree with the rest of everything else that is being said? It's entirely up to the student to decide after choosing the topic and analyzing the topic. Right. So he has chosen to write an argumentative essay to argue that there is obsession or there is no obsession. I wanted the introduction to indicate that position, Mabi. where you would say that there is no, perhaps you would either say there is no obsession with beauty, physical beauty, or there is indeed obsession with physical beauty, etc. But that position is not clearly indicated in the introduction of Mabi. And so what I would have thought students would actually come to the point of at least noting that the introductions are not satisfying what we want them to do. All right, so I'm going back to an introduction before we talk assignments. This introduction is going to help us to see if Mabi's introduction is closer or not closer without me having to speak a lot in this class. These are body paragraphs. All right, let us look at this introduction. It was written by another student. In modern society, there is a pronounced focus. I'm reading here at the top, and we are going to compare. It says, in modern society, there is, a pronounced focus on the body and what it takes to achieve so-called beauty by means of diet, exercise, and plastic surgery. In your view, does society go too far? So here you have to give the topic or phrase or rephrase the topic, and in the same line include your controlling idea or your position on the topic. When we look at this one, at this student's introduction, it says, in my observation, there is no obsession. This is the controlling idea. This is the student's position. It means this student is going to argue right through the essay, proving that there is no obsession. There is no obsession with weight and physical beauty in society, according to the student. So the topic, the students has combined both the position that they are taking on the topic. They have actually done that very well, in the sense that I am able to see the controlling idea that will influence the direction of the body paragraphs or the line, or indicate the line of argument right through the essay. And I also have the student has also made reference to the topic with the part, rather in the part with weight and physical beauty in society. That comes from the topic itself. So the student touches on the topic, and then the student also gives us an idea how they intend dealing with the topic right through the essay. You can see that the student says, in my observation, there is no obsession. Can you see that the student is actually positioning themselves in regard to the topic? They have chosen a side, they've chosen a position, and they are disclosing that in the introduction. There is no obsession with what? Weight and physical beauty in society. Where does that part come from? The introduction. So I have the controlling idea and the topic reference, which then give us what we call a thesis statement. That's what a thesis statement would look like. And so when we look at these things and we examine the introduction that was written by Mabi, and we see that, Mabi, thanks for being so generous, and I really appreciate that. You say, you say, I think society does go in its obsession with weight and physical beauty. I think, Duduzi, this is spot on. You were able to write a thesis statement. However, the other section of the introduction is missing. But you have captured quite well the thesis statement when you say I think. And by the way, you do not use personal pronouns I in academic writings. You say I think society, but please don't think, just state that society does go, rather, in other words, you say society is there is obsession with weight and physical beauty in society. That's the position that Mduduzi is taking in the introduction. Now, I am missing the other sections of the introduction. In other words, I am missing that summary of ideas which you would use to address the topic, So write the rest, the summary of ideas, please. We have done the thesis statement. I've seen it in Mduduzi's submission, but it is important that you revise and you keep trying to write a thesis statement until you get it right. And then once you have done that, we can move to write the other aspects of an introduction. But for now, you are expected to write the thesis statement. If you like, the whole introduction as well will be very much appreciated. But we want to switch from what we were doing in terms of analyzing Mabye introduction and Mduduzi's introduction, and looking at one showing some sign that indeed there is movement in that direction, but also we're looking at the other aspects which are very, very key, other aspects which are the summary of ideas. And I want to see how students can do that in the actual introduction that they are writing. So I'm going back to your slide, and I'm expecting that students will include more informational details in the body paragraphs. We started with the thesis statement. Some students have written their thesis statement. Tuesday, I'm not avoiding talking about your introduction or a section of your introduction where you write, evolved civilization and technology improvement has led to a wide burst of ideas about the true meaning of beauty. You're also focusing on the first topic. You are writing a argumentative essay. So I assume that the sentence you've written here could be part or could actually be directed towards forming a thesis statement. Remember, a thesis statement consists of the topic and the controlling idea or your position on the topic. For instance, we said that the topic says there is obsession out there in society about physical beauty, and people do exercises, they go on diet just so as to have the beauty or the look that they want to achieve. But then we come back and we ask, is there obsession in society with beauty? And you need therefore to construct a thesis statement which will make reference to the topic and your stance on the topic. The line that I read from the sampled introduction states that, in my observation, there is no obsession with beauty. So the student there has given us their position or the controlling idea, which will be the student's line of argument right through the essay. Also, the student has given us the topic itself, where he says that there is no obsession with beauty in modern society. Beauty in modern society was taken from the topic itself. So he makes reference to the topic itself, and he also gives us the position that he is taking on the topic itself. So we are very keenly now interested into knowing, or rather in knowing, what the next steps are that the students will take in the introduction. Remember, the introduction must be neatly or nicely sequenced so that it is logically flowing from one sentence to the other. The key aspects or elements rather need to be evident in the introduction. One the thesis statement, and I wanted to see it in yours, and we are discussing it. And I say to Duduzi, yours is very close to what, or rather is exactly what we are looking for when we're working with a thesis statement. I think society does go too far, I assume, in its obsession with weight and physical beauty. I think weight and physical beauty was taken from the topic. Society going too far is the position that Duduzi is adopting on the topic. So we have a sentence that has both the topic and the student's position on the topic, or the controlling idea that informs the reader as to where the student stands regarding the topic itself. So he has done that, and we appreciate it. But then we want to take the introductions further and include other sections of the introduction. I want you to realize that these introductions, that sample introductions that students have shared with us, are incomplete without other things that need to go into an introduction. And those other things are the ones that I wanted you to bring out so that I can comment on them, and so that we could say that these introductions are good. Right. In any event, when we look at the sampled introduction that I brought your attention to earlier, we find that the student here says there is no obsession with weight and physical beauty in society. There's no obsession. So that's the writer's position. That's the student's position. And with weight and physical beauty is taken from the topic. So there is a sentence which we call the thesis statement that really gives us the writer's position, and it makes reference, rather it has the part taken from the topic. Right. Now, what does the student do next? Remember, we said that an introduction must have the following. It must have, look at this part, it must have the thesis statement. And we also said, okay, a thesis statement consists of the topic and the controlling ideas. It is the statement of the question. The other word, rather expression used to refer to the thesis statement is to say it is the statement of the question. But I also want you to realize the following. I want you to realize that a good introduction gives the reader information that summarizes the body of the essay. Now, that is lacking. I got from you the thesis statement. Well, I wasn't looking forward to getting definitions. That is optional, but I was actually looking forward to getting a summary of ideas which the student will use to address the topic fully, or rather to develop their argument fully in the body paragraphs. That one I was looking for. But then working with this one here, we realize that the student has actually done that. What the student has done is to define the term obsession for us so that we know what the student mean when they say obsession. He says the term obsession in the context of the topic refers to the continual preoccupation to a troubling extent with one's body weight and physical beauty. This is what the student says obsession means. So he's going to be using that understanding of obsession to argue that there is no obsession. And he's actually indicating to the reader what he means by obsession, so that we don't get confused as to what obsession is. This is the working definition that the student would be using right through the essay. Defining obsession for us makes it clearer as to what the student means by no obsession. He means there's no continual preoccupation by any person in our society to a troubling degree where a person is really, really keenly looking at their body weight and also physical beauty to a troubling degree or extent. So he says there is no such thing here. People are not doing such things in our society, according to the student's writing here. But this student goes on to give us a summary of ideas that help the reader predict what to expect in the body of the essay. Look at the writing in blue, where the student says body consciousness is not an obsession, but a health concern about your physical look. Therefore, your dietary concern. So if you have a dietary concern, if you do regular exercises, if you visit a local spa for body treat, all of these things, when you do them, they are for the benefit of your body. It doesn't mean that you are obsessed with beauty, with weight and physical beauty at all. This is what the student is going to be doing in the body paragraphs. The student is going to show us in body paragraphs that regular exercise does not mean you are having an obsession with weight and beauty. He says it's good for health, it's done for health reasons, not because there is obsession with weight and physical beauty. And he's also going to prove to us that regular exercise does not mean that a person is having an obsession with weight and beauty. He's also going to show in the body paragraphs that visiting a local spa for treatment of your body, maybe to reward your body, if you do that, it doesn't mean you are obsessed with weight and physical beauty at all. So the student has given us an idea on the direction the essay will be taking and the ideas that the student will be using in the body paragraphs. 3 ideas are going to be used in the body paragraphs. 1, dietary concern. 2, regular exercise. 3, visiting local spa. And he'll be presenting these 3 ideas which are mentioned in the introduction. He would be doing that in order to prove that these things, these ideas do not then in any way suggest that the student is obsessed with weight and beauty, even when the student is doing regular exercise and going on a diet and visiting local spa. It doesn't mean they are actually doing it out of obsession with physical beauty, out of preoccupation to a troubling extent with one's body weight and physical beauty. No, he says it's not about that. This is not me, it is the student who wrote this paragraph. And he is going to prove to us that when people do diets, when people do regular exercise, when they do local spas, they are not doing it because they are having an obsession. No, they are doing it out of health concern. And he's going to prove that to us, the readers, in the body paragraphs. And the last paragraph will be the concluding paragraph, and he is summing up the ideas there. This is what I was expecting the students to put together. If your introduction is not coming close to this, be it an introduction of whatever topic that you are working on, please, it is not an adequate introduction. I hope I have explained it mouthful to all of you, because I really don't want to rush and leave gaps behind. When we rush these things, we run the risk of students missing the points. Even when they attend workshops, their introductions are not improving, they are stagnant. We don't want that to happen to students who attend workshops. We want students to really move forward. We want students to really get to a point where we can say they are indeed getting it right. They are indeed getting it right. Okay, students, did you get it? Or you're not? The introduction. Now you're no longer working with argumentative essay. Now you work with discursive essay, discussion essay. Higher education in South Africa. We just do this. Higher education in South Africa is in a critical state due to the emergence of fees must fall. Well, this topic is old, but let's do it. Fees must fall, transformation, decolonizing the curriculum, and so on. Now, discuss some of the challenges facing higher education and suggest how they can be resolved. So you're going to discuss challenges. So you're going to introduce the challenges and also the solutions to those challenges in the introduction. And you're doing it briefly. So don't forget the thesis statement. Don't forget the summary of ideas, which will indicate your stance on the topic. I'm looking forward to reading your introductions in preparation for the next class that we are going to have on Tuesday, same time, load shedding aside, same time, and hoping that we would we would penetrate the introductions of the students and at least get into the misconceptions that students may have and address those so that students come out of these workshops being able to write a very fluent paragraph of an introductory paragraph. So work with that discursive essay topic I ask, and then put together an introduction and send it, email it to me soon as you are done. And then I will look into it and I will discuss it with myself. And having done so, I'll give you feedback Monday so that we are able to work with something that comes from the students themselves. I like working with students' work, not my own work, not work from literature, not work from other writers, no, work from students, because that's the true reflection of where the students are in terms of their understanding or in terms of the progress that they are making through these workshops that we are presenting. Otherwise, there wouldn't be a class if we cannot begin with the introduction, move to the body paragraphs, move to the conclusion. Only then we can now switch to what? Switch to the in-text referencing or referencing styles, because now we are referencing the ideas that we have included already in the paragraphs that are fluent, well written, and paragraphs that are flowing in the same direction, paragraphs that are sticking together. That's what we want to start with first before we even move into the referencing of ideas that have been used by the students. And I hope this summarizes the direction that we are beginning to take regarding these presentations. I don't know, I'm going to pause there and allow for students' inputs. I see there is more from the chat box. Let's look at what is happening. Tutuzi wrote, there is obsession in society about weight and physical beauty. Some people exercise, some people exercise and eat according to, can't see that, according to diet menu. Okay, so he's just giving us what other students may, just giving us, that is Mduduzi there, that there is obsession, is taking the opposite end. He's saying that there is obsession in society about weight and physical beauty. And he says that some people exercise and eat according to diet menu. But I think it is not capturing the what I'm looking for in terms of the summary of ideas that you would use to address the topic in full. And I want to thank you really for making time to be part of this, although there was a hiccup at the beginning, but we managed to steer the ship into the right direction, and ours is to celebrate. So thank you, students. Thank you, Cloney. We'll see each other on Tuesday. Thank you. Bye. Good night.